My name is Yoseph. I'm from East Africa, and I spend a lot of my time helping infra builders really see the world from the lens of the users, and also invest in startups that are seeing the world from the user's lens. So I'm kind of working at the intersection and helping them build what I see as simple finance. Why are we using the term simple finance? Because I feel DeFi has kind of skipped the simple parts of finance and gone to really complicated parts that is only usable and valuable for a very small part of the market. So let's come back to the really simple stuff if we really want to build for the end user. With that lens in mind, I'd love to kind of reframe the conversation. So I am personally waging war on the term onboarding, because onboarding kind of desires the world to come meet us in our crypto world and life. But if we actually want to build things that matter for hundreds of millions of people, then we got to meet the user where they're at and see the world through their lens. Part of the user base that I think crypto is still sleeping on is the user base in Africa. Why does Africa matter? Well, first and foremost, we have a ton of humans, 1.4 billion people. That is doubling in the next 25 years, so we're adding 2 Europes in the next 25 years. We're very young, median age is 19, growing economy. It's the last frontier market in the world after China and India. About 300 million Africans are in the middle class. That is expected to double in the next 7 years. $4.2 trillion of consumer business spending. We're on track to get there. So it's a very much growing ecosystem. We're not just young today, we'll continue to be the youngest population in the world. And when you talk to young folks, that's sort of like the easier target for new technologies and new innovations. The other part is a lot of people have internet access, 590 million. It's growing 6% a year. And a lot of the user base is learning a lot online on their own and also using the internet on their mobile phone. So we're a mobile-first economy. We've had a bunch of leapfrog moments with technology. We passed landlines with mobiles, and then we kind of skipped traditional banks with mobile money, and now we're doing a big leapfrog with crypto, which we'll talk more about. Last year, we had about $120 billion worth of on-chain transactions, which is relatively small, but if you think about it as a percentage of population, most African countries have between 5 to 15% of the whole population have interacted with crypto in some form or shape. But we have big, simple financial gaps. So if you're a normal person, you want to access credit to do your business and work, you pay anything between 10 to 27% interest a month to access capital. That's a big gap in simple financial service. Huge inflation rates in a bunch of countries, 10 to 20%, and you cannot basically use your local currency as a store of value. And there's a huge premium for US dollars because we have systemic shortage of dollars. So in a bunch of countries, you have like 5–10%. Where I'm from, Ethiopia, it's 100% premium for the dollar in what I call the real market, what sort of banks call the black market. But the black market is much bigger than the formal market, so that makes it the real market. And we spend a lot of money transferring money across borders. Africa is not one country, it's 54 countries. No country kind of meets all its needs locally, so you have to trade. And whenever you're moving money around, you're paying very high fees, especially as a small business and normal human that's not a big corporation. A bunch of us, 500 million of us, don't have any form of legal ID, which is a huge challenge. 40 African countries don't even print their money locally. We get that done in many European countries and pay about 6% of the total cash supply as printing fees and transportation costs. 14 African countries don't even control their monetary system, and we have a lot of challenges around trust. And when I look at the blockchain, fundamentally, we're solving for trust. So I see a huge product market fit with what we're building here and what the users need on the other side. So with all this in mind, what does simple finance really look like? Here's kind of like a jigsaw of how I see a modular and interoperable financial system that addresses the simple needs of normal people. On and off ramps. So sadly, people are not coming to crypto to live in the crypto economy. that people are coming to crypto to do things that fiat cannot do, and then going back to fiat to live their lives. So that revolving door needs to be extremely smooth and very easy. And currently, I think the types of innovations that are happening in Africa around on-ramping and off-ramping is probably more advanced than many other countries around the world, because that's the biggest use case for us. Payments, a huge amount of fees with local payment companies, and that kind of touches stable coins. I'm very excited about localized stable coins. So local currency stable coins. I know US dollar stable coins have been a huge hit across the continent, but actually building more local stable coins allows us to build programmable money locally, so we can actually do all types of trust-based agreements that you cannot do with fiat, and that creates a lot of friction. Credit, we spoke about it earlier. That's one of the biggest gaps in the traditional market, and providing on-chain reputation to allow you to access on-chain liquidity is one of the most exciting areas for people to build smart and very simple applications for the direct user base. And that's actually where some of the bigger protocols like Aave and all of that can play a big role in, because we're not going to have normal people come into Aave, log in with their self-custody wallets, and try to play around with liquidity pools, right? We need basically a very simple interface. And so what a lot of African builders are doing is building those interfaces that plug into some of the bigger DeFi protocols to provide liquidity and access to day-to-day users on the continent. Insurance, that's one of the areas that traditional world has not served the normal user, especially in microinsurance, because it costs too much money to insure like hundreds of millions of small players, right? But that's actually a complexity that can be abstracted and very much simplified for normal users. And that's one of the areas where simple finance plays a huge role in. Savings. I don't want to save in my local currency. I like to save in something that's more stable. At the moment, it's US dollar stable coins. So if you look at what many African builders are creating, is very simple cash app looking like wallets and applications where you basically put your local fiat in, you get US dollar crypto. You can actually even see it in the local currency. So it's actually USDT or USDC, but what you're actually seeing is your local currency there. And then, oh, I want to put it into a savings pool where I'm earning 5% or 6% in US dollar denominated currency, which basically means I am gaining 25+% if the inflation rate is 20% a year, right? So this is actually a huge part of how many people are currently using. Binance is #1 exchange in Africa. They were there for the last 5-6 years, and they've done really well across the continent. The two biggest parts that are used at Binance, one is peer-to-peer on-ramp and off-ramp, which is to come on and off the crypto economy, and second is earn. So the market is telling us they want a very easy way to come to crypto and leave the crypto world, and a very easy way to maintain value and increase that value over time. 5, 8, 10%, they're very, very attractive for the normal user, right? So we're not sort of a group of degens aiming for 20, 50% returns. We just want to have store of value that kind of appreciates in a gradual way over time. And the other bit is cross-border payments. So actually, 80+% of crypto users in Africa are using crypto to do cross-border payments. Because traditional banks and institutions have a ton of friction to do global trade, people are coming to crypto, buying some stable coin or ETH or Bitcoin in order to quickly and easily send money across borders, right? And people have productized that to actually provide that as a service to big manufacturing companies, oil and gas companies, because it is easier for them to get liquidity through crypto providers than it is to go through 5, 6 banks at the same time and wait several days for that settlement to come through. And to even go further, a bunch of big fintech companies, so non-crypto companies that are regulated, they're using US dollar stablecoins at the back end to do cross-border settlement. So real adoption is happening on the continent, even by kind of patchwork of what we have so far. And so if you're thinking about simple user-centric applications, the market base is so ripe and ready in the African continent. I guess the last slide I'll leave you with is that actually, for this space to grow beyond the sort of internal crypto economy that we're operating in, we need ecosystems and user bases that are underserved and kind of neglected by the traditional financial system. Because the friction to onboard hundreds of millions of Americans into crypto and keep them there over 5-10 years is extremely high. When governments kind of work, when financial institutions kind of work for normal people, right? So to actually reach large-scale mass adoption in the space that we're in, we kind of need to go to where institutions are a little dysfunctional and not working. And Africa has more to offer to the crypto economy than what we can actually offer. And that starts with thinking from simple finance applications. Thank you, guys.
Nice, awesome. No, Yosef, thank you so much. Like, quick question. Like, what are the activation that you think we need to do more around the continent to bring more, not just user, but also like developers to build those applications?
So some of the things is we're actually hardly run big crypto events on the continent that is not about shilling. And the sad reality is, no matter how smart and talented African builder you are, it is almost impossible to get a visa to get to global events. So for that reason, we're kind of missing a lot of African builders in these discussions. So you're not getting the full sense of the huge market user base, right? So getting big events happening on the ground, supporting developer education and initiatives there is one of the best ways to do that. And the last thing is, if you're actually building applications or if you're building protocols, go and actually understand the user base, the dynamics of it. For example, we're not a subscription-based economy. And last week I was in a conversation with many people thinking about like how to kind of build more financial sustainability for our protocols through subscriptions. Well, you're kind of missing a huge part of the market if you're not building a business model that's targeted that user base. And that's just one simple example, right? So more of us understanding that market dynamic from a protocol or application level will really help us to actually grow and scale in that space.
100%. More builder nights will happening around the continent for next year, for sure. So any last question here from the audience before we're moving? Cool. Yes, Eric, another unknown person.
So can you say more about what models you think might work better?
For what?
Well, you said it's not a subscription-based...
So we're a pay-as-you-go model. So a space where basically you get a service, you pay right away. The challenge that subscription hasn't worked is we don't have a really sophisticated credit card system where you can do chargebacks and all of that, right? And when we spend little amounts of money, the transaction cost for traditional finance per transaction is very high. So it doesn't kind of make it easy to do pay-as-you-go. But with crypto, we can do microtransactions, micropayments. Ethereum is too expensive, mainnet as it is. Layer 2s are really helping make the cost lower. So I think we're getting ready to actually do more pay-as-you-go opportunities there.
Cool, awesome. So another big round of applause for Yosef, and thank you so much. Thanks.